Hello, travelers and monster catchers abound. I'm Stella Ferris, and you've crash landed on the Monster Catchers Journal podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you hear rain outside, it's because it is storming really bad here on Nibiru. Thank you. The twin suns shimmered overhead while the three moons glowed faintly in the endless daytime sky of Nibiru. The forest around us hummed with life. Strange glowing insects drifted through the mist, while giant violet mushrooms leaned over the trail like umbrellas. Orabeak perched on my shoulder, feathers puffed up nervously. "You hear that?" Astra whispered. At first I thought it was wind, then I realized the forest itself was singing. Soft, musical notes echoed between the trees. Some were high and playful, while others sounded deep and haunting. The glowing cymbals drifted through the air, pulsing with golden light every time the sound changed pitch. Zena slowly turned in a circle. "Okay, that is definitely not normal," she said. Luna tightened her grip on Myrno's harness. "It sounds pretty though." Pretty wasn't the word I would have used in this exact moment. The music felt alive, almost hypnotic, almost siren-like. Even Ignazura's sapphire body shimmered uneasy, while tiny sparks danced across his ruby stripes. Astra crouched near the ground tracks, she said. We all gathered around her. Small claw prints zigzagged through the moss, but every few feet the marks vanished completely before reappearing further ahead. "A glider type, I guessed? Or something that teleports," Zena muttered nervously. "Please don't say teleport," I said. Orabeak suddenly screeched and spread his wings. A shadow darted overhead. Something slammed into the branches above us with impossible speed. Crack! Leaves exploded everywhere. "There," Luna shouted. For half a second we saw it. A strange squirrel-like glyph stretched between the trees, using massive star-shaped gliding membranes. Its body glowed with flowing music notes, while its giant curled tail shimmered purple with star patterns. Then it vanished again. The singing grew louder. "Doo!" The sound bounced around forest in every direction. "I can't tell where it's coming from," Astra yelled. "That's because it's mimicking echoes," I said. Professor Orion had once told me about the rare sound that glyphs could vibrate to confuse predators. If this thing was just one of them, tracking it wouldn't be easy. Suddenly Myrno froze, its ears twitched, then it pointed one claw towards the canopy. "Above us!" Luna cried. The creature dropped from the branches like a living kite. Everyone scattered. Whoosh! Its giant gliding arms stretched wide as it soared over our heads. Golden music notes trailed behind it like sparks from a fire. Now I saw it clearly. The glyph was honestly adorable. Huge orange eyes, tiny buck teeth, a fluffy cream-colored chest with a glowing pink star, and a gigantic tail swirling behind it like a galaxy. "It's so cute!" Zena yelled. The glyph chirped proudly. Then it smacked Astra directly in the face with its tail. "It is a menace!" Astra shouted from the ground. Luna burst out laughing. Even I couldn't help. The creature bounced between the trees, singing loudly as it glided in a circle around us. Every note created glowing symbols in the air that floated like fireflies around us. We need to corner it," I shouted. "Easier said than done," Zena yelled back. Ignazura lunged upward, claws flashing. The glyph twisted in midair with impossible flexibility and landed upside down on a tree trunk. It stuck there for a moment, grinning at us. Then it started singing again. The sound suddenly changed, slow, gentle, sleepy. Orabeak nearly fell off of my shoulder. Myrno yawned. Even I felt my eyelids getting heavy. "Oh no," Astra muttered. "It's using sound hypnosis." "Don't listen to the music," I shouted. Too late. Zena sat directly on the ground. I'm just going to close my eyes for 5 minutes." You are not taking a nap right now, Astra yelled. The glyph giggled, actually giggled. Then it launched itself off the tree and disappeared into the glowing fog again. I groaned. Okay, new plan. Luna crossed her arms. I'm listening. If it uses sound to confuse us, then we stop listening. Astra blinked. That's your plan? Yes. That's a terrible plan. Do you have a better one? No. A few moments later, we all looked ridiculous. Zena had stuffed moss in her ears. Astra wrapped cloth around her head. Luna used Myrna's fluff fur as earmuffs. And I had Orabeak sitting over one ear while using my jacket sleeve to cover the other. This is the dumbest thing we've ever done, Zena mumbled. Remember the exploding mud geysers incident? Astra asked. Second dumbest. We followed the glowing notes deeper into the forest until we reached a massive hollow tree. The trunk was split open, revealing glowing crystals inside. Golden musical symbols floated lazily through the air around it. The creature was home. I motioned for everyone to stay quiet. Very slow, we crept closer. Then the glyph popped upside down out of a hole directly above me. Meep! I screamed. Astra screamed. Zena screamed. Luna screamed because we screamed. The glyph panicked and launched itself out of the tree like a rocket. Now, I yelled. Orabeak blasted forward first, creating a gust of wind that disrupted the creature's gliding pattern. Ignizera leaped from a crystal formation, cutting off its escape route. Myrno charged underneath it with shocking speed. The creature bounced off a branch, and Astra threw a glyph onto the ground and pressed the button. Flash! Energy erupted upward in a spiral of light. The little glider spun midair, trying to escape, but the capture beam locked onto it. The entire forest filled with musical notes as the glyph fought against the containment light. The glowing notes around its body intensified brighter and brighter. Then suddenly, ding! The glyph sealed shut. Silent for a moment, nobody moved. Then Luna tackled Astra excitedly. You got it! Astra held up the glyph triumphantly while lying flat on her back. I absolutely meant to do that. You threw it sideways, Zena said. Strategically sideways. And, it wasn't sideways. I placed it on the ground. The glyph suddenly shook. A tiny musical note floated out. Meep! I carefully picked it up. The creature emerged slowly onto my arms, blinking cautiously at us. Without the wild energy from before, it looked calmer, gentler. Its tail curled around my arm, while soft, glowing notes drifted from its fur. Orabeak chirped softly at it. The little glyph answered with a happy trill. Luna smiled. So what do we call it? I looked at the stars, decorating its tail, the musical lights flowing across its body, the way it glided through the forest like a living melody. I smiled. I don't know. The glyph squeaked happily. I think we should let Astra name the glyph because she is the one that caught it. And in that moment, the strange little glyph glided between the glowing trees, laughing in its own musical way. As golden notes floated through the air behind it, its giant purple tail sparkled beneath the endless light of Nibiru's twin suns, while Astra tried unsuccessfully to grab it again. Get back here, you fuzzy gremlin, Astra shouted. The glyph landed upside down on a branch and chirped smugly. Zena crossed her arms. You know, for something we just caught, it's awfully confident. It stole my backpack, Astra grumbled. And my scarf, Luna added. And my last berry pastry, I said. The creature squeaked proudly, as if that were an accomplishment. Orabeak flapped beside me angrily, while Ignizera prowled below the trees, eyes locked onto the tiny glider glyph. Myrno, meanwhile, had completely given up and was laying in the grass, chewing on a glowing mushroom. The little creature suddenly launched itself from the branch and glided directly towards Astra. Look out, Luna yelled. Whoop! The glyph slammed into Astra's chest and clung there like a living blanket. Everyone froze. The creature blinked up at Astra with its huge glowing orange eyes. Then it made the softest little trill we'd ever heard from it all day. Astra blinked. Okay, that was so adorable. The glyph curled its giant tail around Astra's shoulder and happily rubbed its tiny nose against her cheek. Zena pointed dramatically as it has chosen its victim. I think you mean partner, Luna corrected. I smiled. Looks like it already trusts you. Astra carefully scratched under the creature's chin. Tiny glowing musical notes floated from its fur while it chirped happily. You know, Astra said softly, I think I'm keeping it. The creature immediately squealed and wrapped itself tighter around her shoulder. Well, I guess that settles it, I laughed. Luna grinned. Then what are you naming it? Astra looked down at the strange little glyph for a long moment while the forest glowed softly around us. The creature's body shimmered with musical light. Its giant tail sparkled like a night sky, and every little movement it made created soft, chiming sounds in the air. Astra smirked. I'll name it Squrlitone. The glyph's ears perked up instantly. Squrlitone, Zena repeated. Astra nodded proudly. Yep, that sounds like a haunted trumpet. Exactly why it's perfect. Squrlitone suddenly leaped into the air and glided around Astra in excited circles while glowing musical symbols burst around it like fireworks. Meep! I laughed. I think it approves. Squrlitone landed back onto Astra's shoulder and curled up there comfortably like it had belonged beside her forever. Then it immediately smacked Zena across the face with its giant tail again. Whap! I liked it better before it had a name, Zena muttered. The entire group burst into laughter as Astra proudly carried Squrlitone through the glowing forest of Nibiru, the newest member of our team singing happily beneath the endless 3 moons and twin suns. When we finally returned to the sanctuary, everybody was exhausted. The giant underground halls of the sanctuary glowed softly with crystal lanterns, while dozens of rescue glyphs wandered peacefully through the habitat zones. Tiny baby arachnaroos climbed along the ceilings, while moo tights rolled through the grass area like living marshmallows. And somehow, Squrlitone was still causing problems. The musical little glyph zipped around the main room singing loudly while glowing notes bounced off the walls. Every few seconds another glyph would start chasing the floating lights it created. No, don't eat that light, Astra shouted as the baby Luma pup tried to bite one. Squrlitone perched upside down from the hanging vines and chirped innocently. It's been home for 10 minutes, Zena said tiredly, and it's already corrupting the ecosystem. Luna laughed while Myrno climbed into a pile of blankets nearby. I leaned against Dora Beaks with a sigh. For the first time in weeks, I realized just how tired I actually was. Between rogue experiments, dangerous cliff hunts, time jags, and nearly getting flattened by giant monsters every other day, we barely had time to breathe anymore. Even Ignazura looked exhausted, its ruby striped sapphire body dimly glowing while curled up near one of the crystal heaters. I crossed my arms. You know what? I said finally. Everyone looked at me. I think we need a break. A break? Astra repeated. Like a nap? Zena asked hopefully. No, I mean an actual vacation. The room went silent. Then Luna's eyes widened excitedly. Wait, seriously? Yes, seriously. Astra stared at me like I'd lost my mind. Stella Ferris, we hunt dangerous interdimensional creatures for a living. Exactly why we deserve one. Honestly, the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. We'd spent so long running after danger that we hadn't stopped to enjoy Nibiru itself in ages. There were entire regions of the planet we still hadn't explored properly. And, I mean, this planet has a lot to see because it is 20 times the size of Earth. Crystal oceans, floating jungles, the endless dunes of Inado, the frost bloom valleys beneath the triple moons. And then, I smiled, maybe we'll even see the giraffe glyphs again. Luna gasped loudly. You mean the giraffe-shaped slimes? Even Zena sat upright instantly. Years ago, during one of our earliest expeditions, we'd caught a glimpse of them when we went to the floating island and saw the Moranog in their natural habitat. There's only a few left, so we weren't able to touch them because they are going extinct from massive overhunt of predators. Squrlitone suddenly landed on Astra's head and made a loud musical honk noise. See, even Squrlitone is ready for a vacation. The little glyph chirped proudly. Luna practically bounced in place. We have to go. Zena nodded immediately. Agreed. If we're taking a vacation, I want to see the giraffes again. The space giraffes. They are not space giraffes, Astra, I said. They are more slimes that are shaped like giraffes. They absolutely are, she replied. I mean, look at the way they look. They look like little aliens. But they're not. Within an hour, the sanctuary became chaos again. Not dangerous chaos this time, vacation chaos. Luna packed enough snacks to survive a year. Zena somehow brought 6 jackets despite the weather never changing on Nibiru. Astra spent 20 minutes arguing with the Squrlitone after it kept stealing supplies out of everyone's bags. Orabeak perched atop our transport crawler, while Ignazura guarded the entrance dramatically like we were leaving for a war instead of a vacation. As for me, for once I actually felt relaxed. No emergency alarms, no villains, no rogue experiments, just us, our glyphs, and the endless glowing world beyond the sanctuary waiting to be explored. As we climbed aboard the crawler and began heading towards the floating islands, everyone was happy and excited. The floating island drifted the same way it always did, slow and uneasy, like it was deciding whether it wanted to stay in this part of the sky or vanish into the clouds. And just like last time, the situation hadn't improved. 10 Moranog? Only 10. They were clustered near the center grove, their soft glowing bodies dimmer than before, like they were running out of whatever kept them alive in this place. The air itself felt wrong around them, too quiet, too watched. And of course the security guard was there again. He stepped forward the moment we arrived, boots grinding into the pale stone bridge that led into the little pond in the middle of this little island, where they swam around. I told you, he said flatly, voice carrying that same exhausted warning as before. Don't touch them, don't approach them. They've already been hunted almost to extinction for a reason. His hands rested near his belt, not quite threatening, but not relaxed either, like he expected trouble before it even happened. You could feel it in the air. He wasn't just protecting the Moranog from you, or from me, or from anyone. He was protecting them from everything and everyone. From poachers, from collectors, from people like Team Constellation. At the thought, my eyes scanned the sky between the drifting rocks and hanging vines. Nothing. No black or purple uniforms, no flashing of emblems, no hovering drones, just clouds. For now, the guard followed my gaze and scoffed lightly like he read my thoughts anyways. If you're waiting for Team Constellation to show up, he muttered, you're already thinking too loud. They don't always come crashing in. Sometimes they just watch. A chill crept through the island breeze. One of the Moranog made a soft, broken chirping sound, like it was calling for something that never answered anymore. And then from deeper in the grove, a second sound echoed back, but it didn't sound like any Moranog. It was sharper, measured, controlled, like someone had just stepped onto the island without touching the ground at all. The air over the floating island shifted like a curtain being pulled back. One moment there was only wind and tension, the next they were there, not rushing in, not crashing down, just arriving as if the sky itself had decided to make room for them. 3 figures stepped through the shadows between drifting vines, each wearing a uniform that shimmered like nebula glass, deep violet layers with glowing pink lines that pulsed faintly like starlight trapped under fabric. Their insignias weren't harsh or military. They looked like constellations that had learned how to walk. Amber stepped forward first, her cape-like jacket flaring slightly behind her, as if caught in the wind that didn't exist. She lifted her chin toward the sky. We are born from the silence between stars, she said, voice steady and bright, and we will not let that silence be broken by extinction. Behind her, Merrick moved with calm precision, eyes scanning the 10 remaining Moranog, like a scientist looking at a fading equation. To extinguish light, he said softly, is not cruelty, it is correction. Then Amir followed, hands tucked into his sleeves, gaze distant, like he was reading something only he could see in the air. A constellation does not ask permission to shine, he murmured. It simply becomes impossible to ignore. Amber turned slightly, and the three of them fell in formation without a word, like they had done it 1,000 times before. Together, their voices aligned. Team Constellation. A pulse of pink-purple light flickered faintly across their uniforms. We gather where the universe refuses to lose. A pause. Then the final line, spoken a perfect sync, echoed across the floating island. From scattered stars to guiding light, we claim what fate leaves behind. The security guard stepped forward immediately, his voice sharp. You don't claim living creatures, he snapped. They're not resources. Amber's gaze flicked toward him, calm but unyielding. If they were safe, she said, we wouldn't need to be here. The Moranog huddled tighter together, their glow flickering unevenly now, like fear itself was dimming them. Then something changed, not in Team Constellation, not in the guard, but above them. The sky briefly shimmered like a second layer of reality had blinked open. Amir tilted his head. They're already watching, he whispered. Riker's hand tightened slightly at his side. Then we accelerate containment. The vines around the grove began to hum softly, as if the island itself was reacting, responding, awakening, and somewhere deep beneath the floating landmass, something old and luminous stirred, like a star had just remembered it was trapped. Team Constellation's calm broke first. Amber lifted her hands, and the violet-pink lines across her uniform flared brighter, like constellations igniting in reverse. Begin collection sequence, she said sharply. Merrick didn't hesitate. Small glowing devices unfolded from his sleeves, then star-shaped restraints that snapped open in the air like metallic flowers. They're already unstable, he said. We don't have time for sentiment. The device shot forward toward the Mornog. The creatures panicked instantly, their soft glow flickering as the nets of light began to close in. That's when I moved. Not happening, I snapped. I stepped between them and the Mornog, and my glyph energy burst outward in a wave that cracked through the air like a shock of lightning. The StarNet device shattered mid-flight, dissolving into drifting sparks. Amber's eyes narrowed. Interference confirmed, she said coldly. Riker stepped forward, rolling his shoulders like this was something he'd been waiting for. Then we proceed with manual retrieval. The ground around him lit up in a circular constellation pattern, like a battlefield being drawn in the sky and reflected onto the earth. The fight exploded. Amber moved fast, too fast, gliding across the ground in bursts of pink-violet light, trying to circle behind me toward the Mornog. Merrick attacked with precision, calculated strikes, each movement like a piece on a chessboard, meant to corner me. Amir stayed back, tracking everything, calling out patterns like he was reading the future a second too early. But I didn't give them space to breathe. I cut through Amber's advance, forcing her back with a surge of force that scattered her footing. Merrick's formation broke when Orabeak slammed the ground between me and him, cracking his precision grid into useless fragments of light. Amir tried to recalibrate, but the sky above the island flickered violently as my energy disrupted their coordination field. One by one, they lost control of the space. Finally, a combined blast of glyph energy and island resonance hit all three at once, sending Team Constellation skidding backwards across the stone bridge. They didn't fall into chaos, they recovered. But they were clearly pushed out of range. Amber studied herself, breathing hard for the first time, her glowing uniform dimmed slightly at the edges. Merrick clicked his tongue, annoyed more than injured. Containment failed, he muttered. Amber looked toward the Mornog, then at me, as if memorizing the outcome for later. Amber's gaze sharpened, and despite everything, her voice stayed composed. This isn't over, she said. Riker exhaled slowly, brushing dust from his sleeve. Team Constellation has reached Nova dispersal again. He paused, then corrected himself under his breath, as if even he hated the phrasing. Retreat initiated. We'll recalibrate and return. A pulse of violent light burst beneath their feet. In a blink, the three of them were gone, leaving only fading starlight. Sparks drifted through the air where they stood. The island fell quiet again, but the Moranog were still trembling. And deep in the sky, something far above the clouds flickered once, like a distant signal had just answered their failure. I knew this was far from over. I knew later on that day they'd be back again. The pole area was supposed to be a break. For once, it actually felt like one. Water shimmered under the light. Glyphs rested nearby, the island calm in a way that made it easy to forget everything else. Me, Astra, Zena, Luna, and all of our glyphs were there, letting our guard down just for a moment. That was the mistake. The shadow hit the water first. Not a splash, just a sudden dimming, like someone had placed the sky itself over the suns and moons. A second later, the air folded. Team Constellation dropped in front and from above the cliffs surrounding the pole area, landing in a controlled formation like they'd been standing on invisible steps the whole time. Amber stood at the front again, her purple and pink uniform glowing faintly with that nebula-like pulse. Merrick and Amir flanked her, but this time there was someone new, Orion. He stepped forward slowly, and the moment I saw him, everything clicked. Older presence, sharper focus, the way even Team Constellation subtly adjusted their space around him without thinking. He wasn't just part of them, he was the center of them. His arm caught my attention immediately, though. A mechanical replacement, sleek, star-forged metal with faint luminous seams running through it. No glyph glow, no organic energy flow, just clean engineer motion. He noticed me staring before anyone spoke, and like he'd already expected the question, Orion gave a small exhale. Amir fixed me up, he said calmly, flexing the mechanical arm. The movement was smooth, too smooth for something that looked that heavy. It doesn't use glyph energy anymore. No resonance, no interference. A pause, and his eyes lifted to me. It moves because I move it. Zena shifted slightly beside me. Luna's glyphs stirred. Astra's posture tightened, not aggressive but ready. Amber didn't look surprised at my group at all. She just looked certain. Like this wasn't an interruption, it was the continuation of something she had already scheduled. Orion stepped forward, another half step, scanning all of me and my friends and glyphs in a way that felt less like a threat assessment and more like memory cataloging. We're not here to fight unnecessarily, he said. Merrick quietly scoffed beside him. Amir, however, kept watching the pool, water like it might reveal something hidden beneath. Amber finally spoke. The Moranog incident wasn't contained, she said. That means the situation has escalated beyond field recovery. Her gaze shifted to me directly. And now we have a protected nest site. Unregulated glyph users. An interference that keeps repeating. The air tightened again. Orion raised his mechanical hand slightly, not attacking, just signaling. I know what you're thinking, he added, voice low now. We're not here to take from you. A beat, then quieter. We're here because if we don't stabilize this region, someone worse will. For the first time, even Amber didn't immediately respond. The pool waters rippled once, and far above the island, something passed through the clouds, slow, massive, and silent, like the star shadow of something that wasn't supposed to be anywhere near this world. I don't trust you, I said. The tension around the pool snapped tighter the moment I spoke. I don't trust you, I said, voice steady. You and Team Constellation are bad. Just earlier you were trying to steal the last of the Moranog. For a second no one moved. Even the water seemed to pause its ripples. Amber's expression didn't change much, but something behind her eyes sharpened, like she was deciding how much truth was worth showing. Orion exhaled slowly through his nose. Then he lifted his mechanical arm slightly, not in defense, more like he was acknowledging I wasn't wrong. Okay, he said at last, a beat. Then he added more honesty than before. Fine. We were going to take them. Merrick shifted immediately like he didn't love hearing that out loud. But Orion didn't stop. We are here to collect them, he corrected, voice firmer now. Because they're rare, yes. Because they're valuable to study, yes. His gaze flickered towards the distant floating cliffs, where the island's wind moved strangely uneven, almost strained. But also because we have to. Amir finally looked up from the water. Amber stepped forward a half space, taking control of the conversation again, but without her earlier theatrical edge. The Moranog aren't just endangered, she said. They're a stabilizing species for the island's upper energy layer. Their presence regulates the floating mass structure. She gestured slightly upward toward the sky above us. This island is sick. A pause, then she continued more bluntly. The Moranog look weak because they're absorbing imbalance that isn't theirs. If they collapse, the island becomes unstable and everything on it, this structure included, starts to drift out of control. Zena's eyes narrowed slightly. Luna's glyphs shifted closer to her instinctively. Astra didn't relax either. Orion's voice dropped a little. We didn't tell you the full truth earlier, because people usually stop listening the moment they hear we need to take them, he admitted. And honestly, we've been wrong before. Amber glanced at him like that last part mattered more than she wanted to admit. Merrick finally spoke quieter than before. The sickness isn't natural, he said. Something contaminated the island's energy flow cycles months ago. The Moranog adapted, but it's killing them slowly. A breeze passed through the pole area, but it didn't feel like wind anymore. It felt like pressure. Amber looked directly at me, fully focused. If we don't remove at least part of the population for recovery and recalibration, he said, there won't be 10 left next time. Silence settled again, not peace, heavy. Orion lowered his arm. This is where you get to decide whether we're enemies, he said quietly, because either we work together, his eyes lifted towards the sky again, where that earlier shadow had passed, or whatever is causing this gets to finish what it started. I didn't wait for another explanation. Orabeak! Shadow slap! My glyph reacted instantly. A surge of dark feathered energy snapped into shape beside me. Wings folded and unfolded like a living eclipse. The Orabeak let out a sharp, echoing cry that vanished in a blur of shadow. It reappeared between me and Team Constellation in a single blink. Smack! The impact wasn't just physical. It carried a warped shadowed force that distorted the air itself. Amber's eyes widened just a split second, then Team Constellation was launched. All three of them, Amber, Merrick, Amir, all four of them, and Orion, were blasted backward in a spinning arc of violet-pink uniforms and scattered light effects shimmering above the pool water before vanishing over the edge of the platform like they'd been erased from the scene. A silence followed. Even the pool seemed confused about what just happened. From somewhere far off the edge of the floating island, a distant voice echoed back faintly, half annoyed, half theatrical. Looks like Team Constellation's been blown out again. A second voice followed, steadier, but just as audible. That phrase is incorrect. And then a third, quieter sigh. We're going to need better tactical phrasing. A moment later, another soft flare of light in the distance suggested they'd stabilize themselves somewhere off the lower cliffs instead of falling. Back at the pool area, Zena blinked slowly. Luna stared at me. Astra just crossed her arms. The moment Team Constellation was gone, the island finally stopped feeling crowded. Just drifting silence. The pool, the wind, and the 10 remaining Moranog flickered weakly near the grove. No Orion this time, no Amber, no Merrick or Amir trying to explain things in circles. Just us. Me, Astra, Zena, Luna, and our glyphs. I looked at the Moranog, and something about them felt wrong in a different way now. Not just endangered, infected. Their glow wasn't just fading, it was glitching like something inside the island's energy was corrupting them. This isn't just natural sickness, I said quietly. It's energy contamination. Astra stepped closer to the edge of the grove. Then we fix it ourselves. Zena nodded, already calling her glyph forward. Luna did the same, her expression focused but calm. We didn't argue anymore. After that, we moved. Orabeak hovered above my shoulder as I guided it into the soft shadow pulse. Not an attack this time, but something steadier. A filtering wave. Astra's glyph created stabilizing currents around the grove, pulling the island's fractured energy back into alignment. Zena and Luna worked together to spread a calming resonance through the Moranog, helping their bodies stop fighting against the corruption and start releasing it. At first the sickness pushed back. The air rippled like something was resisting us, but we didn't stop. We pushed the energy through anyway, slow, controlled, steady. Little by little the corrupted glow in the Moranog began to break apart, not vanishing, clearing like dirt washing off glass. One by one their light steadied. The island itself felt different too, lighter, less strained, like something hidden deep under the floating landmass had finally been forced to loosen its grip. By the time we finished, the grove was quiet again, but in a good way. The Moranog drifted normally now, their glow soft and stable instead of broken and flickering. Astra let out a breath. Okay, that worked better than expected. Zena gave a small smile. We did that. Luna nodded, her glyph settling down beside her like it was proud and tired at the same time. I looked out over the pool again, letting the calm actually sink in this time. No team constellation, no fights. Just us. And an island that finally wasn't sick for the moment. We still on vacation, I asked? Astra stretched, already relaxing again. Yeah, we earned it. And for once, it actually felt true.